So Republicans are threatening to invade Mexico. Invade Mexico. This is after the drug cartel murdered 9 Mormons as they were in a car. Here's Senator Tom Cotton talking about this on Fox News.
It was a horrible attack. Several Americans have been murdered. Do you see this as an individual incident, or is this a national security concern now just south of our border?
No, Dana, this is not an individual incident. This is the depraved massacre of 3 women and 6 children, including infants, as you mentioned, wounding many other children. Cartel violence in Mexico has reached an all-time high. Over the last year, murders have surged under President Lopez Obrador's policy of hugs, not bullets. I mean, that may be nice for a children's fairy tale, but in the real world, when the bad guys in cartels have 50 caliber machine guns, the only answer is more bullets and bigger bullets. And if Mexico can't protect American citizens in Mexico, then we may have to take matters into our own hands.
And how might we do that? Like I was talking yesterday about the idea of designating the cartels as a terrorist organization. Would that make a difference?
Well, one thing we could do, Dana, is increase the penalties and sanctions that transnational criminal organizations already face. Most of the cartels are designated as such organizations. But look, our special operations forces were able to take down al-Baghdadi in Syria a couple weeks ago. They did it to Osama bin Laden in Pakistan 8 years ago. I have every confidence that if the president directed them to do so, that they could impose a world of hurt on these cartels a few dozen miles away from the American border. And I can tell you that opinion inside of Congress is running extremely aggressive towards the cartels, given this latest act of depraved violence.
So what happened with these 9 Mormons who were killed, and by the way, Vice News did a great segment on this years ago, I think, actually, about the Mormons who are living in Mexico and the battles they have had with the drug cartels. I'm pretty sure that in this instance, they thought that the Mormons in the car were part of a rival drug gang. And they killed them. I don't know how they killed them. I don't know if they shot some sort of, obviously, whatever they shot at them was big enough to destroy a vehicle and everybody inside of it. But, yeah, this is what's happening in Mexico is crazy at the moment. But, of course, Tom Cotton gets exactly backwards. Now, Trump has came out and said, oh, maybe we'll help the Mexican government wage war on the cartels. Yeah, maybe we should do this thing. We could call it, I don't know, maybe a drug war and go after them in a military fashion. That's what we've been doing. This is the drug war. And things have not gotten better. Things have gotten worse. So his reaction of like, oh, maybe let's invade Mexico. The only way to defeat the drug cartels once and for all is to put them out of business. If you legalized, taxed, and regulated the production, distribution, and sale of marijuana tomorrow in this country, the drug cartels would immediately begin losing their power. And over time, maybe over the course of a year or two, they'd be out of business. And they have to try to find another product to sell. But again, this is why it's so important to do it properly. To definitely, at the very least, decriminalize all drugs, but maybe legalize marijuana for sure. Maybe legalize even other drugs as well. You could regulate it heavily to make sure that the amounts are reasonable and whatnot. But if you beat them at their own game, if you legalize, tax, and regulate it, what happens? Who's going to want to go to a creepy back alley and talk to a sketchy character to get drugs when they can go to CVS or Walgreens or the grocery store or whatever it might be? I mean, come on, man. This is the only way. You have to put them out of business. And the way you put them out of business is to make a better product at a lower price, safer product as well, and allow that. If you don't allow that, then they're going to have a monopoly on the whole drug business. And that's what they have right now, a monopoly. And that's why they're so powerful. They reap all the benefits and all the rewards of being the only game in town when it comes to selling marijuana. So at a federal level in the U.S., you have to legalize, tax, and regulate it. The fact that Tom Cotton does not understand this or doesn't care, and again, all he sees is a military reaction, says everything about Tom Cotton. This is a guy who said, we didn't go far enough at Guantanamo. We tortured, we should have done more torture and worse torture. This is what he believes. He's never met a war he doesn't like. And yet again, all he has is a hammer. Everything looks like a nail. So he's like, we should wage war against them. You want to invade Mexico? That's what you want to do? You want to invade Mexico for a problem. It's playing whack-a-mole. You know the game whack-a-mole? You hit the thing there, it pops up over here. You hit the thing there, it pops up over here. That's exactly what would happen and what is happening in this situation with the drug war. So the only way you're going to really save lives, protect people, prevent situations like this happening in the future is to put the drug cartels out of business. Until then, you're always going to have cartels, they're always going to do violence, and you will have instances like this where the cartels mistake a car of Mormon Americans from, they think that they're the rival cartel and they attack them. So it's amazing to me. And by the way, acting like, AMLO, needs to get tougher on them, the Mexican government needs to get tougher on the drug cartels. We were just in a position where we captured El Chapo's son. The Mexican government did that. And then they had to release him because if the government didn't release El Chapo's son, the drug cartels were going to do a genocide of civilians. So what do you mean, get tougher? What did you want them to do? Capture El Chapo's son, not release him when they said they were going to do a genocide, and then sit back and watch them do a genocide and then try to fight them further? And it would be the escalation of a literal war would explode in Mexico and would make the situation worse, and there'd be more deaths, higher body count, more lives destroyed, the economy in tatters. This is what you wanted to do, but this is what he wants to do because he's a maniac and he's a hawk and all he wants to do is war. So his solution would exacerbate the problem and he doesn't care because he's not bright enough to figure that out, or even if he did figure it out, he still would be in favor of a militaristic approach because that's who he is and that's how he thinks. So what happened was absolutely terrible. The best thing we could do is to make sure it doesn't ever happen again in the future. And the way you do it is to legalize, tax, and regulate drugs. Not do a drug war, which is something that we're already doing, which has already been an abysmal failure, which led to the thing that happened in the first place.